Hello all you Pixel people, I am Pixel and welcome back to part 3 of our Project Spark tutorial series. Where we left off, we had started working on some basic first person controls, and I'll show you these now. So we created a first person camera, we added a crosshair to the screen, we had a walking system and a sprinting system, and we can jump. So we've got the basics there, but what we want to do in this episode is add a stamina bar and a visual representation of that stamina bar so we can actually see how much stamina we've got left and make sure that we can't sprint when we've got no stamina. And if we've got time, we'll add it to our jump function as well. If not, we'll do it in a separate video later on down the line because it's not the most important thing in the world. So what we're going to do first off is we are going to look at what we have done so far by going into our character's brain. And we can see that when we start off, once it will set our pace to 0.75, which is a slower walk speed, and it will set our jump to 0.5, which is a much lower jump. We set a first person camera, we stick a dot in the center of the screen quite large for a crosshair, and when we move the left stick or WAS and D we move, when we press A or space we jump, and when we use the left trigger or shift our on land speed equals 5, and if we are not sprinting our on land speed equals 2.5. That's basically all we've got. So to add a stamina bar, the first thing we are going to do is we're actually going to add a visual representation so we can test it and see exactly what's going on. And the way we do this is actually really quite simple. Up in this once section, we are going to insert a new line. So it only happens the once, and it's going to be a value, and it's going to be a number, and it's going to be a new number variable. And we're just going to put stamina here. I think that's how you spell it. I'm dyslexic, so my spelling's awful, guys. I do apologise if it's wrong. And that stamina is going to equal values number. And it's not in the list, so we have to create 100. So now when we start off the game, our stamina equals 100. And then underneath the first person camera and near the crosshair, we're going to insert another line. And we're going to do create, interface, show meter, and then we are going to do values, number, stamina. And just to put it in the right position, we're going to stick it on the screen location on the bottom center. So now when we actually test this, we've got a red stamina bar. We'll turn that green. I'll show you how you do the colors for your displays basically. So down where we put the stamina show meter, stamina, at the bottom of the screen center, we can go to add another one, go to values, and then we'll have color. And you can create your own color by doing your RGB values, or you can have a color variable which stores colors so you can change stuff like dynamically, or we can just click on colors, which we're going to do now, and we'll select green. Green always feels right for stamina. So then when we test that, we should have a green bar there instead. Cool. But because we've not added any code in to actually work out what's going on with the stamina, if we sprint, the stamina bar stays at 100, nothing is happening. And this is going to be a bit of a complicated little video because we're going to basically do the same thing 3 times. But we're only going to need to do it once in the overall code. But I want to show you what issues you can run into so that way you know what to avoid yourself when you're doing your own little projects. And we're going to start off by making sure that if we come down to where we set the sprint, so left trigger or shift, on land speed equals 5. Okay, so what we're going to do here is add, I thought it crashed then, insert, okay, so it did. So when we do this, we are going to values, number. And I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing this as well, just so that you can actually see. There's 2 ways of doing it. Both ways are correct. One way is a little bit simpler and a lot cleaner in your code. But we're going to do the ugly way first. Stamina equals values, number, stamina, maths, minus, and we'll just do 1 for now. And the game runs at 30 frames per second, so this means that it'll go through the code in the brain 30 times a second. So if we put the number 1, it will decrease by 30 every single second, which means that we'll get 3.333 seconds of sprint because we're decreasing it by 1 every frame. So numbers 1. Okay, now what you'll see is when we play now, when we start sprinting, we're walking still, this will start decreasing by 1 per frame. We've not set it to increase again, so that's why it's not going back up. But if you see, we're sprinting. Now the issue is so far is it doesn't stop when we get to 0 stamina, because the stamina is actually not playing a part other than being displayed at the moment. But before we actually work on making sure that the stamina is relevant, what we're going to do is show you the real, like the clean way of doing this. So as you can see, we've got stamina equals stamina minus 1. Like, that works, and what we're about to do now is the exact same except a lot cleaner. So we're going to delete the equals, stamina, minus, and the 1, so we've just got stamina. Then if we click the plus, we can go to maths, and we can do decrement by values, numbers, 1. So as you can see, we have removed a few of the modules, and we're basically getting the exact same, because every time, like, it registers that we're pressing the left trigger or shift, it will decrease by 1 per frame. I'll just show you that working again. It'll be exactly the same, and that is just a cleaner way of coding. So when you go down, you know what everything's being decreased by without having to look at the actual maths behind it. It's just a little bit simpler and a little bit cleaner, guys. I definitely recommend you use the increment and decrement as much as you can, really. Okay, so this works. It works well. But like I said, when we get to 0 stamina, it allows us to keep on sprinting. So what we're going to do is here we are going to, when we press left trigger or shift, we are going to add by going to timing and logic and values, number, stamina, and then we go to compare is greater than, can you guess it? 0. If our stamina is greater than 0, it will change our online speed to 5, and it will decrease our stamina by 1. And if it's not greater than 0, if it's less than 0, it's not going to even run this line of code at all. So numbers 0. Test. So now look, we're sprinting, and no stamina. So we've stopped sprinting, but we're not increasing the stamina. So what we're going to do now to increase the stamina, and we're actually going to do this the right way straight away rather than actually showing you what happens if it goes wrong, because you're getting the idea now. You should be getting the idea at least. So under this else, so if we're not sprinting, basically on-land speed equals 2.5, which is correct. But if we add another line and pull this in so it happens underneath the else, what we do is, no, we need to do when, sorry. So if we're not sprinting and values, number, stamina, then we do compare is less than values, numbers 100, then what we do is numbers, stamina, the mathematics, increment by, so we decrease by 1, we're going to increment by 0.5. We don't want it to ever be the same, really. It just feels a little bit unrealistic and contrived, and it basically means if it was on 1, it wouldn't decrease, because as soon as we stop sprinting, we can sprint again. So we need to do values, numbers 0.5. And this will only happen if our stamina is less than 100. So if we reach 100 stamina, then it's just going to stop increasing full stop. Now if we test this, we have now got a working stamina bar. And it's working fine, we can sprint. And then when we get to 0, it stops us sprinting. We let go, we can increase some stamina, and we can sprint again. This is the basic stamina bar, but there are still a few issues, and I'm going to show you one of the main issues right now, which is going to need us to totally rewrite most of our sprint function. And that is, if we are stood still and we press sprint, it decreases, even though we are not moving. And normally you wouldn't have to rewrite all your code, but there is a little bit of a bug in the game right now. I'm going to try it, but it may crash the game, and in which case I'll have to just basically restart the game and show you the right way. So if we edit again. Now, the way to stop it from sprinting when we are not moving is simply, and it is very simple, we need to add this line, the main one, the left trigger or shift and stamina greater than 0. We need to move this to underneath the left stick or WASD, because then it will not check to see if we are sprinting unless we are moving. There may be an issue where it might not even check. Or would it? Oh, the stamina might not increase when we are not moving then. So we'll have to see. We're going to try and move it. The game may crash. I'm warning you. But it's a bug in the game. The code itself works fine. So let's... What have I just done? Something just happened. Okay, so we need to press this gently. 9. Okay. Now we need to pull this up. Will it work? Oh, it's working so far. Last time it crashed when I did this. And then we need to pull in the line a little... Wait, what's going on? Okay, so we're going to pull this in. Has that worked? Okay, it's worked this time. Last time I tried this, it crashed. So now, basically, it will not check for our sprint unless we are already walking. And I don't know if this is going to work or not, because I'm a little bit silly and I'm just new like you guys, except I'm trying my best. Okay, so now when we sprint, yeah, it only increases while we're moving. And the way we fix this is really quite simple. Basically, it's not doing the else because we're not moving. It has to be moving before it'll get to this else. And the way we increase this is... Now let's think. Because I'll tell you the issue that we've got right now. If I actually move this line, I mean this line here, to somewhere else, it'll continue to increase while we are sprinting. Which means we can just mathematically change so that basically our decrement here is by 0.5, so it would actually write off the increment and it'd be exactly the same. But it's a little bit sloppy, but I think that's going to be the easiest way to do it. We don't want to get overly complicated. It's a game about making games. It's not a full practice in how to code. So yeah, I'm thinking we're going to try this. Let's move this out, 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 down. And then if we switch this to 1.5, which I'm guessing there's not a number for, so we'll start the number 1.5. Okay, so now it should work continuously. Our stamina should be constantly increasing. Okay, so we fixed it. It's a little bit sloppy, but it works. There are ways of doing it, and I could actually show you how to do it, but it's going to take a full 10-15 minutes to add enough code to actually make it run properly. But it's working, and I can't think of any reason why this is going to break anything later down the line. If it gets to that point in a later video where we need to change something, we'll change it. But for someone who just wants to make a first-person game with a sprint, this is going to work absolutely fine right now. Okay, so we've got this working, and I'm going to spend another 10 minutes, and what we're going to do is we are going to add jumping to our stamina. So stamina is going to use jumping. And just like we did with the sprint, what we're going to do here is A or space and stamina. So values, number, stamina is... Now, what should we use for a jump? I mean, we don't want to jump if we've only got 1 stamina left. Maybe jumping takes 15. I think that 15 may be a decent number. So as long as stamina is greater than values number, new number, 15, then we'll jump. But it's broken again. And this is where we're going to get into what we need to change. So as you can see, it's working again. we can sprint, it increases, and then when we jump, we didn't decrease, we just made sure we could jump. Ignore me, I'm silly. We need to decrease the stamina when we actually jump, don't we? Okay, so we need to add another line here. Inset. So then values, number, stamina, maths again, decrement by 15. And the reason we're decreasing by 15 is we want it to take 15 stamina every time we jump, which makes sense. So let's find the number 15, which is on the 3rd page. Done. Okay. So now, when we jump, 15 stamina. One of the issues that we've got right now, guys, is because it's checking for when we've jumped constantly, it means that when we jump, it's going to... I'm getting a little bit of stutter. I'm hoping that this is because I'm recording. I have no idea. I'll check this later and I'll make sure that if it was anything else, I will do a mini video explaining what the stutter was. I don't think I've done anything wrong, but look what happens if we hold on to jump. It's going to take 15 per frame because it's checking while we're holding it, not when we've pressed it. So our stamina's gone. And every time it gets 15, it'll go again, just by holding it. Our way around this is very basic. What we do is we come down to this again, and what we need to do is we need to inset before. So when A, we need to do it before the or basically. So A, and then modifiers pressed. Again with the space, so we add another little module, modifiers pressed. So now it's only going to do this code when it is pressed, not when it's being held, just pressed. And now we should see, there we go. Every time we're pressing it, it's going to use the stamina, which is a little bit broken. But again, just like doing the proper sprint functionality, we can fix this quite easily, but it's very time consuming. And I'm pretty sure with what you've learned today, hopefully you should be able to go out and actually repair this so that you cannot jump while already in the air. And it'll be something really simple. I can think of like 3 or 4 ways to do it. It's not that important though. But what I did just notice then, and this is a tiny little fix, it's not even an issue really, is while we're testing, if we can double jump. Like, double jump is cool, right? But I don't think we want to double jump. So what we're going to do is just add another line. This is totally separate to what we've been doing today. Insert, movement properties, jump. This is the number of jumps an object can perform while in the air. Equals numbers 0. So now we cannot multi-jump. Oh no, so it needs to be 1. So it needs to be 1. It must be set to 2 by default. Okay, so we fixed that. So now we've got a working stamina bar, which I think everything's fine, guys. I'm just getting a tiny bit of stutter on my end, and I don't know if that's because I'm recording or if there's something overly going over it. So what we're going to do is we've basically added the stamina bar now, and it's working with our jump and it's working with our sprint. We'll quickly go over all the code that we've got so far, and then we'll end the episode. And in the next episode, I think we might do something a little bit different. We've done a little bit of brain stuff right now, so we may look at making torches. A little bit of light so we can actually start making the world a little bit darker. I think that's quite cool. So, again, from the very top, once in the whole game, we set our pace to 0.75, we set our stamina to 100, we set our multi-jump count to 1, and we set our jump height to 0.5. We make sure that we've got a first-person camera, and we show the stamina meter on the bottom of the center of the screen in green. We also display a dot extra large in the center of the screen for a crosshair. And when we move the left stick or press WAS or D, we move. And while we are moving, if we press the left trigger or shift and our stamina is greater than 0, our on-land speed will equal 5, so we are technically sprinting. And while we are sprinting, our stamina will decrease per frame by 1.5. If we are not sprinting but we are moving, our on-land speed equals 2.5. If we press A or press space and our stamina equals greater than 15, we will jump. And when we jump, our stamina will decrease by 15. And if our stamina ever equals less than 100, stamina increases by 0.5 per frame, which means that we've effectively got, well, 3.3 seconds of sprint, I believe. Let's just test that. 1, 2, 3. It's about that. It's about that. And now we've got a working stamina bar. We've got 3. I'm just looking at the time, and it's going to be a long video, but I'm thinking, should we do the can sprint, won't sprint? No, we'll do can sprint, won't sprint in 2 videos time because it's a little bit more complicated. And what it'll basically do is mean that we cannot sprint if we let our sprint get to 0, basically. Which is quite cool because it also means that we add a little bit of tactics so people will be tapping the sprint rather than constantly sprinting. Because, for instance, if we got down to here, we'd want to avoid it from going to 0 because we won't be able to sprint for maybe 3 seconds, which would be quite cool. But anyway, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. It was a little bit sloppy because of the way we had to line things up, and I was scared that the editor was going to crash, but it all seemed to work quite well. I am Pixel. If you've enjoyed the video, slap that subscribe button for some more PC gaming goodness, and remember to like the video if you like the video. And I hope that this stamina comes in handy, and next time we will be looking at creating some torches and light and making the world a little bit darker for your pleasure. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.